Welcome to the Game On podcast tonight. Club champions are named with a couple of surprises that happened on the night. And the silly season has begun. It's here with the trade period and speculation pretty rife at the moment. And the Sheffield Shield is underway with South Australia getting away to an okay start, but a loss in the end. All right, welcome to the Game On podcast. My name's Pete, once again joined here in the studio with Malcolm. Malcolm, how's your week been?
Disappointing in terms of South Australia. I went the first 3 days.
Yes.
The Shield game.
That was at Adelaide Oval?
Yeah, 3 for 270 overnight on the first day, but unfortunately we didn't bat that well after that.
Yep.
Bowled okay. Had him Victoria at 6 for 199, and unfortunately I thought we bowled and probably played our worst hour of cricket we've played for at least 2, 3, 4 years.
Yep.
And Victoria put on 130 and ended up virtually on a par. And then we did not bat well yesterday afternoon.
All right, we'll talk about that a little bit later.
Not happy.
We'll talk that a little bit later. All right, let's get into Around the Grounds, mate.
Around the Grounds.
All right, we will talk some more cricket a little bit later on. We will obviously talk a touch of the SANFL because we've got the draft combine on at the moment, so we'll have a little bit of a talk about that and also some of the basketball. But let's start off with the AFL. It is the hot time of year, but firstly, each club's best and fairest winner has been named. A couple of little surprises on there. I'll run through the list in its entirety, and then we'll talk about a couple of the surprises. Jordan Dawson, obviously, from Adelaide. Josh Dunkley from Brisbane. Hewitt from Carlton. Darcy Cameron from Collingwood. Zach Merritt from Essendon. Caleb Sarong from Freo. Holmes from Geelong. Matt Rao in a bit of a tight one there for the Brownlow medalist for for Gold Coast. GWS, Tom Green, Jack Gunston for Hawthorn, Max Gawn for Melbourne, Harris Sheasel and Tristan Cherry for North Melbourne, Zach Butters for Port Adelaide, Tim Taranto from Richmond, Nasiah Wangani-Malera from St Kilda, Isaac Heaney from Sydney, Liam Baker from West Coast, and Ed Richards from the Western Bulldogs. All right, mate, the first big one is, I did mention it just a second ago there, that Rao was behind with a few rounds to go and the Brownlow medalist gets up by a couple of votes.
Yeah, look, I thought Rao and Anderson, that'd go right to the line, yes. and it could have gone either way, and that's exactly what happened. Look, from the outside, the biggest surprise was Darcy Cameron.
Yes.
But he did have a very good year, and it's a case of internally being noticed and more respected. And let's be honest, the on-ballers just get all the publicity at AFL level. So it was actually a pleasant change that he did get noticed so much internally.
Absolutely. The one for me, Jack Gunston, he had a fantastic year. But like you said, it is sort of centred around the midfielders. But every time he got the ball, he just looked like he was going to kick a goal. That was the thing.
Probably the biggest every club does their best and fairest slightly differently. Yeah. And there are some clubs where if you'd missed 3 games, which Gunston did, you wouldn't, therefore, virtually couldn't win it. So it just depends on a club's voting system.
Yes.
So, yeah, but he did have a great year.
He did, indeed.
Yeah.
Mate, Zach Merritt wins at Essendon, but controversy, obviously since the end of the season and right through to even now, he goes to the to the Brownlow. He goes to the Club Championship Awards. He ends up winning it.
He always was going to win it.
The speech, I don't know if you've heard it, but
it's not great.
It was very forced, wasn't it?
Yeah. It's not a good situation there.
Can you see him staying at Essendon next year?
I still think it's 50-50 at the moment. I know Essendon are saying no way, but I think it's 50-50.
It'll be the one that gets done on the last minute, last day sort of thing. Josh Dunkley obviously winning Brisbane's best and fairest in a premiership year. Sometimes that's regarded as
the cherry on top.
The be-all of end-all and the cherry on top. He had a very, very good year.
He had a great year. And he is the best defensive midfielder in the comp, so I'm glad that he won it.
Yep, especially with the talent that Brisbane does have. And
McCluggage and Newell and etc. Ashcroft.
Yep.
I wish it was Ashcroft, yeah.
There you go. Sorry, I got that one right. And the other one, obviously, Nasiah Wangani-Malera, star of the future. He didn't quite have the year that we all think he had at the beginning, but he built into the season brilliant and finished off like a freight train.
No, he was incredible. The last 6 to 8 weeks, he was the number one player in the comp.
Yep.
Then.
And some usual suspects there, obviously, Max Gawn, obviously, at Melbourne, and Isaac Heaney at Sydney there. Let's move on to the AFL draft. Some interesting scenarios that have been thrown up. Some trades have happened already. The big one for me is Silvani, basically the trade to St Kilda for basically the same pick as what Lance Franklin was. Is that about right?
It's not a trade.
The compensation pick, yep.
Oh, look, it's this formula. It's not right, but no formula is. It's a bit like the Duckworth-Lewis in cricket. That took a long time. There's still people there who don't think that's great. I think it's actually, if you actually understand it, it's as good as you're going to get.
Exactly right.
Where this is a bit melting pot, is sure. It's length of tenure, payment of the contract, where it fits in the salary range at that club.
Yep.
So, it's a lot of things. Look.
And... well, salaries now.
I think it's not a bad result for
years.
Carlton to get
pick
number
19.
19 for it.
Yep.
But, geez, I tell you, you lose. So they lose Silvani,
De
Koning, and possibly Kerno. Geez, it's a big whack.
Yep. Michael Voss, in his acceptance speech, and I do have this down later on the run sheet, is that a few coaches had a bit of a crack at their club champion nights, just about what's expected, what's needed, and almost setting it up for next year. And Vossi's on his last chance, isn't he, at Carlton? Really, when you think about it, he's going to go out all guns blazing.
And good on him.
Absolutely. All right, mate. Let's talk about some of the potential trades or movements that are happening. We did obviously mention De Koning leaving there, but Marshall looks like he could be departing St Kilda for Geelong.
I admit I don't understand. What St Kilda decided in terms of De Koning. Now, look, he's a good player, plenty of potential, but he actually had to leave Carlton. He couldn't,
Yep.
It's about $3 million difference over the length of the tenure and all that.
Yep.
Or 2 to 3. It was just an obscene amount. It's just crazy. And look, is he an upgrade on Marshall? Maybe ability and maybe potential, but not for that income. And they keep saying, "Oh, we've got all this money to spend." Well,
is that the ultimate bluff at the card table?
Yeah, because they've already outlaid a couple of million for Wanganeen Malira, 1.7 or so for De Koning. There's a huge part of your salary cap already.
Are they going down the path of spending a good chunk of their money on 6 players, say a quarter of their
I think
third
so.
of their team?
Which creates drama at the other end amongst players like Wilkie. It looked, for a while, and who's to say that's finished yet? Who knows?
Captain's been asked to potentially look at moving still, as well.
So it's interesting what they're doing, and wait and see.
So the question is, why has it worked so well for say Geelong, but it may not work so well here for St Kilda?
Because Geelong didn't pay anywhere near that amount of money and kept it all a lot more balanced. Players have taken less to play at Geelong, the chance to live down at Geelong, not in the rat race in Melbourne. So there's a lot, the lifestyle there is a big attraction.
Is that where, moving on to Gold Coast as an example, is that you can pretty much walk down the street there and not be noticed too much?
And you do wonder if that's part of Petrarca's thinking. So,
What are your thoughts on the Petrarca while we're talking about it? Is it a done deal? How can
I don't think it's a done deal.
How can the Suns satisfy Melbourne in this trade?
Well, they've already got potentially, it looks like Flanders for 7.
Yep.
Straight from
and going to St Kilda.
Yeah. So they're going to have 6 and 7. So they've got a bit of dealing there. Then they've got to make sure they've got enough draft choice and that
for points
for Hewland and one other.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of water to go under the bridge at Gold Coast land. Yeah,
mate. Question without notice: Oliver and Petrarca obviously both leaving. Well, potentially leaving Melbourne. would you? And Adelaide obviously dropped out of the race because apparently, allegedly, or as it's been reported, is that he was asking for an extra year on top of what they were doing.
Yeah.
That probably, from a due diligence point of view, I think Adelaide have made the right decision. Oliver's obviously the second place prize here. They've done their due diligence there and have said, look, I don't think we can satisfy that either.
Yeah, I think there's a few things off the ground
This
as
is where I'm sort of going with it, is that are you going after Petrarca on the basis that he does bring that off-field stuff, through his YouTube and Instagram and, generally a nice guy, whereas Oliver's had his issues and it is a risk that you don't necessarily want to take?
I think they'd be doing a lot of due diligence off ground and decided that, yes, potentially it is too big a risk on that side of things.
Is that because Adelaide's in the football bubble versus, say, GWS, who are having a pretty red-hot crack at him, where he could end up like a Jesse Hogan up at GWS there and, doesn't have anything to think about but playing his footy?
Yeah, possibly. I just think if you due diligence.
Is there a world where Melbourne keep him?
Oh, there is, but I still think it's pretty unlikely.
What about Stephen May?
Again, I think that's unlikely. I think he'll end up somewhere else, but if no one else wants him, he ends up back at Melbourne. So, yeah, it is a bit strange.
King has got some hard decisions to make if that doesn't happen because, yeah, that's going to be an interesting environment to walk into day one of pre-season, that's for sure. It is the silly season, and some teams have obviously made their mark right from the get-go. The Crows still need to satisfy a deal for Archie.
Yeah, I think that'll be toing and froing. They'll end up getting somehow a draft choice in between their number one choice and 50, and I think that's what it will be.
Is it a case of that they package something up for, say, next year to satisfy that as well? Because this is the thing that people look at and go, oh, well, you've got 14, 15, and you haven't got anything until, 41 or 47 or something around those marks there. Could something for next year come into play?
That's a possibility, but 3, 4, 5-way club trade deals happen.
Yep.
So, yeah, something will happen.
Looks like a 3-way trade between West Coast, Freo and Brisbane are going to happen for Starcevic. So that's to be signed off on, but that may be something that the Crows need to get a little bit creative on, don't they? Yeah. Jacob Weir obviously comes from the GWS Giants to the Power, a local SA lad back in his home state. Is that a good pickup for the Crows as for Port Adelaide? And where do you see him fitting in?
Yeah, look, I think it's going to be, he's fringe, so it's a big call. Like it sounds like they're going Jason Weir and probably I think it's Brady, trying to remember his name from Freo.
Yes.
So it's two big calls on fringe players from elsewhere. So it's interesting.
Adelaide also looking at the young lad from the Western Bulldogs that's come out today, Riley Sanders. Yes. So is it a case of that you've got Draper coming through there that he could potentially take that spot, or do they take someone that's on the fringe of a very good midfield in the
Sanders is probably more of a wingman, I think, than an inside, and I think Draper will develop into inside. He'll be both inside and outside.
Yep.
Inside and then his pace and from stoppage. So I don't
that signal
think
their intention with Curtin then?
No, I think it's another. It's another name. Look, there'll be 8 million names thrown up.
Yep. Well, we're going to find out by this time next week, mate. So it should be very, very interesting. I know I've asked you once before, but let's go through these same names. Charlie, where do you see him going? Sydney, the likely destination?
Sydney's likely.
Yep. Merritt?
I still 50-50 Hawthorn or stay.
Okay, there you go. Marshall?
Geelong.
Oliver?
GWS.
Is that a 50-50 or are you leaning a little bit?
Leaning more
towards that. Yeah. Petrarca? Gold Coast, but will it happen?
Yeah, they'll make it happen.
Yep. And the last one is Butters, and we haven't talked about this one for a little while. Reports have come out that 4 weeks before the end of the season, he's sort of signalled a little bit of interest. He sold his house here in Adelaide, living with Mitch Georgiadis at the moment. Does that play into it?
Oh, look, I think he's probably going to have more. He's going to end up with a lot more than one property and all that. Who knows? Look, I still think at the moment he's more likely to be at Port Adelaide next year than not there, but who knows?
Is it a case of watching what Josh Carr does this year, see where he fits into that, where the future direction goes?
I think he'd want to see some. If he stays at Port this year, he'd want to see some improvement.
Yep.
You know, if Port in the end, let's remember they've missed by a fair distance this year, so they've.
But there was a lot of distraction.
Yeah, I agree, and a lot of injuries. Yep. So that's not to say they couldn't come, but he'd want to see him. You know, he'd want to be right at the bare minimum competing for the 8.
Absolutely. Well, Connor Rosie's captain, but yet Zach Butters is arguably their most important player. So that's going to be a very interesting watch. Let's have a seems to be that no players off limits. The report comes out today that Nick Dacos has been approached by several clubs. Is it a sign that the trading period could potentially be extended, or do we bring in mid-season trading to allow this to happen?
I'm not sure. I hope not.
Can you see a world where Nick Dacos is not at Collingwood?
Personally, no. But, who's to say? I still like the romanticism of a player playing at a club, and it just seems like
staying at a club.
And, it's interesting that you've had guys like Archie Starcevic quite willingly leaving a premiership side when
they pretty much could win another one.
Another one or two. So, that didn't used to happen. Yep. So, yeah.
Is it a case of that we're getting a little bit more like the American sports in that way?
We are.
Yep.
No doubt.
And a lot of those younger players are growing up on that American sports where
Correct.
they don't necessarily support a team anymore. They support a player. And if that player moves, they move with them.
Yep.
The one on Dacos is interesting for me. Their club championships, something fell a little bit flat with the old man. Didn't quite like it as much as he would have liked. He obviously has done the father-son thing. He's won a premiership at that club, best and fairest at that club. Obviously not this year, runner-up, which is quite an interesting one as well. But is it a case of that he's done everything that he sort of wanted to do at Collingwood?
I wouldn't think so. Like,
it runs pretty deep, doesn't it?
Yeah, they're a huge Collingwood family.
Yeah, it's going to be hard to.
He's only won one flag.
Absolutely. All right, mate. Do you trade pick number 1 if you're West Coast, mate? What are your thoughts on that?
Personally, no.
Can the Crows move up the order, and what do Port do?
Look, there'll be 8 million things happening behind the scenes. Like, we're reporting on what's being said.
Yes.
There's a lot more happening which isn't being said. So I take everything with a grain of salt at this time.
Do you have faith in Justin Reid to get the job done? He got a bit lucky last year where a couple fell in his lap.
Yeah, he did, but he also didn't have much luck on the Bryce Gibbs where the AFL changed the rule on the last day, the first year when they were going to get him. Informed enough on the side on that one, and I back him what he did in the end from having been told enough.
Yes.
Be a bit careful.
He had a very, very good year that year for Carlton, and then didn't have so good a year for Adelaide the following year. So once bitten, twice shy, maybe. Port Adelaide, what can they do? Or are they looking for more of those fringe players for opportunities that have been delisted or somewhere along those lines to fill some of those gaps?
Yeah, and then they just need Marshall and Lukosius, etc., to be okay.
Yep.
So it's, for me, more. Yeah, I think they probably need another key defender. Although as I said, I really like that Harry Rand.
Yep.
I think there's a lot to work with there,
yep.
and I think there's a bit to work with Whitlock. So I think they've got a bit to work with.
Yep. Yeah, exciting times for Josh Carr ahead there. What's your club's most pressing issue coming? Obviously, this draft and obviously trading period. Let's start off with Adelaide, mate.
Midfielder.
Ruckman.
Midfielder and a ruckman.
Yep. Do they need a big name or do they need to add depth?
I think they need to add depth. Look, I just don't think there's a big name around. Look, would have been great if they got Marshall, but that bloody sign O'Brien up for another 3 years, you know.
Yeah, makes it bloody hard.
Yeah.
All right, mate. Let's. We've obviously talked the draft doesn't need an overhaul. Is it a case of some teams getting stronger and weaker teams getting knocked off? Because we talked about this last week.
I don't
think
think
top 9.
I don't think that's so much the draft. That's free agency.
Yep.
and Brisbane are the ones there at the moment, having picked up Draper and Allen. Oh, geez, they're premiers. So that's the problem there. Not so much the draft, it's the free agency and that side of things.
Whereas St Kilda are going the other way. They're splashing the cash to try and make something happen. You don't make a splash anymore and get very, very ugly, and St Kilda are obviously trying to do that as well. The retiring class of 2025, obviously Travis Boak was at the top of that list, but one man that enjoyed some premiership success with his teammates the previous year gets his premiership medal this year, and that's Oscar McInerney announcing his retirement.
And Oscar McInerney and Gardner were the two from Brisbane in that regard. Yeah, his back was obviously pretty bad, and I think they probably had said, look, so if we don't get Draper over the line, there's still probably a spot on the list.
Yes.
But they've got Draper and he's gone, right, that'll do me, sort of thing.
Obviously, the scenes from 2024, of him being absolutely ecstatic for his teammates in winning a premiership, they repaid it in spades. He actually had a big part to play in that final, really, when you think about it.
He did.
Absolutely. Mate, let's talk a little bit season review. We haven't really touched base on this too much since the season's finished, but we will now that we've got a little bit of extra time to talk about it. But let's talk about West Coast season in review. 1 win, 22 losses. Where do you start? This obviously goes back several years.
Absolutely shithouse, and that's being polite.
Yep.
Terrible lifts management decisions. What they gave up for Tim Kelly was ridiculous. Some shocking decisions. And now, let's remember, they only won a premiership in 18. I'm not a fan, therefore, of a club getting assistance now for your shit decision.
This is why I asked.
Yeah, you don't make 5 bad decisions in business and get a reward by the government. Oh, bad luck there. So I'm not convinced.
They are really one of the biggest clubs in the land.
Yeah.
Is it a case of Don Pike absolutely selling West Coast, to the AFL?
Oh, it's a little bit.
Considering they are one of the bigger clubs and don't want to be down there for too long.
Not so much in that. It's in their thing, their guidelines. So if you've had these 3 years, you've only won this number of games, you can apply for it. And it's virtually like, well, hang on, we've given it to another club. You can't very well then not give it to the next club. Yep. So it's more the guidelines there.
Absolutely crazy. Only 1 win. What do we see for 2026? They will get a couple, obviously, through the door during this period, not only the trade period, but also the draft period.
They're a long way behind.
But they are a long way behind. And how you can be rewarded for such mediocrity is beyond me. 2026, can they improve?
I think they'll still finish bottom. Yeah. Like,
will they get more than 1 win? That's probably the question I'm looking for, or the answer I'm looking for.
Surely they win a couple at home at some stage.
Yep.
So.
Yep. And the second team we'll talk about tonight was Richmond, the surprise packet of 2025.
Yeah, I thought they'd
only win 1 or 2 games for the year. They finished with 5 wins, 18 losses. Probably the big one for them was the round 1 game against my Carlton Blues, where they came from behind and just had that youthful exuberance.
Yeah.
What is, where do they go for 2026 as well?
Oh, look, they've got a lot to. It's probably their medical department now to get Laylor, get Smiley, hopefully Hot, and then keeps going. He's the one who looked, his body did get okay before the end.
Yep.
But those two, Layla and Smiley, they've got to get them right. Now, Layla had a bad hamstring before he got drafted.
Yep.
And now he's done 2 pretty bad ones this year.
Yes.
So it's a real worry at the age of probably 19, if he's 20 yet, to have 3 bad hamstrings by now. So that's a real worry.
That is definitely a real worry for Richmond. Will they win more than 5 games? Can they upset a few along the way, or is it a case of 1 step forward and maybe a half a step backwards?
Yeah, I think it's probably more still the second, still yet. But, if that youth can get on the park, because we know it's got ability, that's not the question. If that can get on the park and they pick up a couple more this year, they probably can improve.
Should be very interesting for them. All right, mate. Taylor Walker re-signs at the club best and fairest for one more year. Is that a good call for Adelaide?
Yeah, I think it is. Like, he still had a pretty good year. Let's remember, he also was easily Adelaide's best forward against Collingwood in the finals. Yes, he was pretty average against Hawthorn, but so was everyone else. And he was... Yep. So, I still think he had a pretty good year. And I'm not this... the three monsters and all. It's bullshit. Fogarty's about 6 foot. He's not a big, tall monster.
You can almost squirt him through the midfield as a big body.
If you get him
fit.
fitter.
Yeah, exactly right. Adelaide losing their fitness boss while we're talking about fitness there. Darren Burgess obviously getting a very, very lucrative, I'm assuming, contract there over in one of the Premier League soccer teams there.
He's gone to
Juventus, but they are a Premier team of the past. So
put it this way, I'm sure he could afford to sponsor the show, mate.
Well, there you go. We'll put in a call there. McEwen, who was sort of his right-hand man at various stages, has stepped into the Adelaide role. Almost within about an hour of them announcing him leaving, we've already got someone already lined up. Yeah. So Adelaide have done very, very well there, mate. Last question on the AFL before we take a quick break, mate. Tasmania, will it happen or not? And does the competition look better if there's 16 teams? I know that's a big one, mate.
I think it will happen, and yes, there's too many teams now. But
will it happen without a stadium?
I think the stadium will still happen. It's getting now that realistically, whether it's going to be 2028 is more the question now. Yep. I think they're going to get the side up, but will it be 2028 is big doubt.
Yep. Is that a case of just pushing it back maybe 2 years to allow just the dust to settle?
That's potential. And the stupidity is it's going to end up costing them another $1 billion than what it would have been if they'd bloody built it
straight away.
So it's just stupid.
Do we go back to 16 teams? Or can we go back to 16 teams?
No.
Nope.
They won't let it. TV rights run the game. That's where the income stream is.
Yep.
I think I'd like to have the percentage of what it is overall. It's a huge percentage. It's over 50% of the money there from the TV industry. So it won't go down.
So does that then make a case for, say, the Northern Territory to have a team and then we do truly have a national competition? Because if it's just based upon TV rights, then surely a team from the NT should be included?
Yeah, because it's not like they aren't bankrolling other teams and all that. So, yeah, I think there should be. Let's wait and see.
Yep. If there are two teams to disappear from Melbourne, who are they? Who do you think? I know they won't. But who are the two teams you think might struggle?
Probably North Melbourne, but then they've probably been a little bit better financially than what they were and all that, so they may be okay now.
Selling games.
I'm not a fan of that either. Maybe St Kilda, but yeah. But again, the AFL won't allow it. So let's keep going.
No, fair enough. All right, mate, we better take a quick break there and have a look at what's coming up, mate. We got the SANFL. We'll talk about some of the young talent on show. And Adelaide get a little bit of a wake-up call in the AFLW. And the 36ers are back on court this week in a bit of a doubleheader.
You're listening to the Game On Podcast. We'll be right back after this short break.
Are dents and scratches putting a dent in your day? Introducing Roger Steen Crash Repairs Adelaide, your trusted solution for automotive woes. With over 2 decades of expertise, Roger Steen Crash Repairs guarantees top-notch service, restoring your vehicle to its former glory in no time. From minor dings to major collisions, our skilled technicians handle it all with precision and care, using state-of-the-art equipment and techniques.
Roger Steen Crash Repairs saved my car. It looks brand new.
Fast, friendly and reliable. wouldn't trust anyone else with my vehicle. Don't let accidents slow you down. Visit Roger Steen Crash Repairs Adelaide at 14 Penner Avenue, Glynde, for quality service you can count on. And here's a special offer just for our listeners. Mention this podcast and receive a $100 discount on your repair. Roger Steen Crash Repairs Adelaide. Excellence in every repair.
All right, mate, we continue on with the SANFL. Obviously, the season's finished now, but the young ones are at their draft camps or combine. Chance for recruiters to look at their skills. A couple of young SA lads look like they're going to go all right, and Filippo's probably one of them that stands out because of his brother. But a couple of others, mate.
Oh, look, Dyson Sharp will still probably be the Dyson Sharp, Schubert, Marsh, and Filippo, probably the four who'll go the top four from South Australia. Cumming is probably the other one from North Adelaide. Is a chance there. So I think there'll be a big number. It'll be a good year for South Australians. Number of South Australians. They
did say the draft was a little bit light on this year, but it looks like South Australia, obviously having their success during the carnivals, will feature prominently. That's for sure.
Yeah, and I think Matty LeRae will get picked. I think. Unfortunately, the young kid from Sturt, Barker, heard he has done an ACL.
Yep.
Now that'll probably, I think he'll still get picked up, but maybe not as high as he would have been. But that's looking at 10 or so from South Australia already. So I think it'll be a good year. And the male, don't worry, the male's correct. That they got encouraged. Bit of heat got put on that we'd be more team focused this year than what they were last year.
Yes.
And certainly were. There was no doubt about that.
Absolutely. Glenelg, obviously looking for a coach. Any movement that you're hearing on the grapevine, mate?
No.
It is a good role to have.
Yeah. Haven't heard anything really of concrete.
Mm-hmm.
Heard a couple of whispers, but not anything, probably nothing reliable enough yet. Bit disappointed. He did commit for 2 more years and then a few days later backtrack. So, that's a bit disappointing, but
It is what it is. It's a part and parcel of the game. All right, let's move on to the AFLW, mate. Adelaide go down in a shock loss to Richmond, making their top four a little bit harder and trickier to navigate now.
Well, massively. That's a huge loss. They've probably been just only done it in spurts this year where they've been okay. And look, let's be honest, they look a fair way behind North Melbourne, especially.
Everybody does.
Yeah, everyone does. So, but now they've lost to St Kilda and Richmond this year, but they're two pretty disappointing losses, of which Adelaide in the past haven't had that. So,
It's a bit of a changing of the guard with
Matty
Clark obviously announcing late last year or early this year that he was going to step down from the role. Leaves Adelaide now in 7th position. They are just hanging on to the top 8. Realistically, the only team that could probably catch them now is Sydney. But this week's game, they play against the West Coast Eagles, obviously here at Nord Oval. And they are sitting 6th on the ladder. So this is a crucial game, but it's actually the one in a couple of weeks' time against Port Adelaide in a showdown that could determine whether they're top 4 or top 8, which is... it's hard to think that after starting the season actually not too bad, maybe a couple of odd games here or there, they might not make the 8.
Yeah, but in a short season, you've only got to blow 2 games like that, and that's
makes
enough.
it hard. Definitely does. Let's move on to Port Adelaide. Port Bulldogs made a little bit of a statement against the Western Bulldogs last week, obviously here in Adelaide, but they take on the Brisbane Lions, who are sitting 5th on the table this week.
Yeah, so it's a hard contest. They have to win to be a chance. So, wait and see.
Absolutely. All right, let's move on. Basketball, mate. Finally get to play round 3, even though round 3's technically already been gone.
It's weird.
Because of the international games and bits and pieces like that, it has made it a little bit awkward for some of them there. But what it does mean is that the 36ers have a double header here in Adelaide this weekend, starting on Thursday night, 7 p.m.
And then Saturday,
Saturday, that's right.
Yeah, so
Tasmanian Jack Jumpers. They have been around the mark for the last couple of years. Adelaide should roll on, but can we mount a case for Tasmania?
Oh, you can, but it'll be it'll be a sellout Thursday night, you'd expect.
Yep.
It is school, and it is still school holidays as well. So,
town.
I think they'll both be sellouts, both big games.
And then obviously the doubleheader finishing off the weekend there is the taking on the highly credentialed Sydney Kings Saturday night at 7:30 p.m. That one there will be an absolute blockbuster.
Huge game, and not sure. It'd be interesting. I'm umpiring cricket this week, so we'll see how the body is, whether I can be out and about on Saturday night or not. Somehow I doubt it. Just
down
quietly.
at the entertainment centre might get a bit of a work over.
Potentially.
Anyone down there, say hello to the young man as he's walking around. All right, mate. Let's have a look at what's coming up on Friday. We're revisiting Keith Thomas, but not as a player, but more of a concussion advocate these days.
Yeah, we've already interviewed him earlier tonight, and as always, KT was fascinating. Probably gave a bit of juicy bits of hopefully some progression in various ways there. So, look, it is such a huge topic. Have a listen. That's all I can say.
And Brian Benke, part 1 there in our encore on Monday.
You're listening to the Game On Podcast. We'll be right back after this short break.
Looking to buy or sell your home anywhere in Adelaide, from the hills to the sea? Meet Gary KRIEVS, your dedicated local agent from OUWENS CASSERLY Real Estate. With unparalleled knowledge of Adelaide's housing market and a commitment to exceptional service, Gary ensures a smooth and stress-free experience for all your real estate needs. Trust the expert, trust Gary KRIEVS at OUWENS CASSERLY Real Estate. Your next dream home awaits. Contact Gary today on 0422 071 317 or on email garyk@ocre.com.au. And for more listings, please visit owenscasserly.com.au. Make it happen.
Flashbacks.
Has to be out, doesn't it? There's 3 of them converging, and the chance has been missed. Dear me. And it's Michael Hussey. I don't know whether Steve Armison's applauding 50 for Michael Hussey. He ought to be hammering the ground in disgust. 3 guys could have caught that, none did.
And I'm not quite sure what the wicketkeeper was doing out there. But I thought the man at square leg was the one who should have been listed and shouting for the catch.
It was well bowled. Just a little further up than the previous one. Ball goes that high in there, someone's got to, well, he's got to get there and get his hands on it.
Extra time. Big finish.
All right, mate. Obviously, the Port Adelaide replay last week, I couldn't, sort of finish off the season on the footy. So we brought some Ashes cricket into the fold today. And Mike Hussey, a man for all occasions, isn't he?
Well placed.
It was very well placed. And against the old foe there, obviously, in England. So it's going to be an interesting Ashes series. All right, let's talk cricket first up, mate. Bizarre things happening at the moment in the Sheffield Shield. You did mention, obviously, South Australia a little bit earlier, but the big one for me was the Cameron Green dismissal, given out, then protests it, and then called back and given not out.
Bizarre umpiring. I admit we did actually discuss that tonight. Really weird. Different. They have, my understanding is Cricket Australia have come forward and said, well, that's correct.
You can't hedge your bets.
No, I'm not the only one. I will be honest, I'm not the only one who thought that was more than bizarre.
You are the rule book for a reason, and you know them inside out. And for me, it left me shaking my head. Have you ever seen that happen on a cricket field anywhere? I'm not talking about at a first class level, but anywhere.
No, that was bizarre, weird.
Absolutely crazy. Sheffield Shield, obviously, South Australia, mate. We'll go through it a little bit more in depth now. Your takings from first innings, second innings?
Look, unfortunately at the moment, we've started the year and we've got a lot of injuries. And then, look, Nathan McAndrew got an ear infection and it's really affected his balance. I think he's probably a fair way away still. It's been worse than realised. He did some run-throughs on the oval on Saturday in the lunch break and he didn't do it Sunday. I think he's still a fair way away. Yep. Brendan Doggett bizarrely did a hamstring while batting. And it's been reasonably bad. He's probably going to miss the next one, probably the next two, hopefully only one, but probably the next two Shield games. So, yeah, it's Menenti still hasn't come back from his ankle. Yep. And Liam Scott was in India and Henry Thornton was in India. So Jordan Buckingham was the only bowler still around from last year's Shield final side.
Yep.
Because Thornton didn't get picked and would have played, obviously. With those others. Yeah, it's been quite crazy. Young Hanno Jacobs, I don't think he's ready yet.
Mm-hmm. Was it a good taste for him, though? You know how they say just give them that one or two just to...
He bowled 15 no balls in the first innings, and for mine, that's just he's a no. And he bowled a fair few again today. Apparently, I didn't go today.
Yep. Bit too revved up, or is that something technically?
I think it's more technical on his run up.
Rhino's the man to fix that. Really, at the end of the day.
Oh look, but I just thought he was a bit raw, but. You don't even have so many numbers with so many out.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Is it a case of everything going right for South Australia last year in those respects and then everything sort of not quite going so right this year?
Yeah, and look, let's be real. We won that game in the most bizarre win ever in Tasmania with four. We had the 2-day game in Perth. Yep. There were some incredible results last year. So, it's a fine line between pleasure and pain.
We needed all those moons to align once again. The turf cricket season's just about to get underway. We might see if we can follow up on that next week, mate, and get a few things in. A bit like our lawn bowls will start sort of next weekend.
Yeah, we'll get Ben Higgins on for district cricket. I'll obviously be able to do a bit of Adelaide turf more next week.
Should be fun there. All right, mate, let's move on to the tennis. Australia's number one, Daria Katsakina, puts her career on hold until the end of the year, citing some mental and emotionally she's done basically for the year.
Yeah, and look, respect that. She's had the courage to be honest. Jack Weatherall's done that the last couple of years at various times, and just respect the person for being honest, admitting, hey, I've got some problems.
Yep.
I need a break.
Absolutely. Hewitt, we should have mentioned this actually last week or the week before, but he was in a bit of hot water there. Being hit with a ban, obviously, for offensive contact during an overseas tie. Apparently, he pushed a drug official for the ITF. It sort of ended up a $30,000 fine and a 2-week suspension. Hewitt's still protesting his innocence, though, as nothing to see here. He's always been pretty fiery on the court, the old white line fever.
He has his moments, yes.
Yep, disappointing, that's for sure. And to finish off, mate, something that came across the desk today, legend of the game has a major health scare. Bjorn Borg has an aggressive form of prostate cancer, mate.
Yeah, look, just wish him all the best. Obviously we've covered that with Tim May.
We have indeed.
It probably was our most raw interview.
Very emotional.
It was emotional, and
best of luck there to Bjorn Borg, and I didn't get to see him obviously during his prime, but some of the footage is unbelievable.
Yeah. Oh, he was just incredible.
Mate, the NRL Grand Final was an absolute spectacular, and congratulations go to the Brisbane Broncos in one of the all-time great finalists. And I've got a couple of boys that I know who are Brisbane fans, and they were absolutely cock-a-hoop.
Oh, it's Brisbane winning everything at the moment. It was a game where it chopped and changed in terms of in the front, and then it looked like we thought at half time, that's probably and that, and just they didn't dot. Unusually for a Melbourne side, Storm made a few mistakes, didn't dot the I's, cross the T's, just a couple of, just a bit of elementary errors, and Brisbane made them pay, and a win for the ages in terms of NRL wise. Look, I can't deny I'm not.
No, you're not
I'm
as
not
invested.
A huge
Yep.
lover and not as invested. But in terms of and it looks like ratings wise, it was absolutely huge because Storm. So you had the Melbourne audience,
Yes.
the Brisbane audience. Well, the Sydney audience are going to watch because it's rugby league.
Yep.
Sunday night, long weekend, perfectly programmed in that regard. Now you wonder whether, as we know, the AFL hates being beaten.
Yep.
Wonder if they'll think along those lines for programming.
Might have got beaten hands down there. I'll tell you now, 4X cans up there would be going absolutely nuts. Maybe we should hit them up for a little bit of a sponsorship because they'd be running out of beer, wouldn't they?
They've had a couple of big weeks
exactly
up there.
Right. Queensland, there's something in the water up there, that's for sure. The women's night of nights was a little bit underwhelming or overwhelming. The favourite didn't actually get the top prize, which sort of left a few with egg on their face.
Yeah, it was interesting.
It was very interesting. Soccer mate, Ange hasn't got off to his fair share of headaches. He's got his fair share of headaches after taking over at Nottingham Forest there with a pretty tough draw to start up. But fans calling for him, you'll be gone by the weekend.
Oh, and it does it over there. Bang. The Rangers manager's gone after 123 days. It doesn't. They just react over there. It seems to be, we'll just sack the manager and that'll fix everything. And look, so Wilder's back at Sheffield United for I think it's his third stint, but he got sacked at the end of last season.
Yes.
They sacked his replacement.
And then brought him back.
After 5 games.
They'll probably sack him again.
Yeah, it's just...
It's a vicious cycle because I would have thought that soccer you would generally need, or football, some people would call it, would need that stability, but having a small spike is one thing, but...
I don't get how you can afford the payouts all the time. It's got me beat.
Private ownership of clubs is slightly different.
Yeah, but there's financial fair play regulations over there and all that. I just don't get it in that regard. Whether that's not covered in that, I probably need to do a bit of delving on
benefactors that are providing that.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Talking about coaches copping the stiff end of the stick, I suppose, from the fans. Is young Socceroo taken off in a club game at halftime. His own fans weren't too happy with the decision and basically calling for his head at the end of the weekend. And that was the young Socceroo's local Irukunda. You're exactly right.
At Watford, but Watford have come good the last couple of weeks. So yeah, I think the manager was on fine line. Of course, the big result on the weekend was
bring it out.
QPR defeating Bristol City at Ashton Gate.
Yes.
So QPR winning away.
Mate, I'm surprised I'm seeing you here tonight with that win.
Oh, there may have been a bit of excitement at about 2 a.m. in the Ashwood household on Saturday night.
Pretty solid Coca-Cola went down.
When Smythe scored they call him Smith, we call it Smythe with SMYTH.
Yep.
Scored the winner with 6 minutes to go. So, yeah, good result there. And QPR currently in 6th spot. So, yes.
Yeah, mate. As I said, I was surprised I was seeing you here tonight. I'm sure you had a stiff Coca-Cola there during the middle of the night, that's for sure.
Wouldn't mind a bit of Peter sleep.
There you go. And to finish this off, mate, the Baseball World Series isn't too far away with a lot of their regional games sort of being played at the moment. Basically, the regular teams and players are at the pointy end of the season, but a well-funded team didn't make the playoffs this year. That leaves some questions. New York Mets with some very, very well-paid athletes not making the finals. Is that a case, and raised a few eyebrows, but is that a case of what we've been talking about, say, with St Kilda a little bit, and how Geelong have got it right, St Kilda haven't quite got it right?
Money doesn't automatically mean success.
Exactly right. Mate, have you got a rule book rant for us this week?
No, we'll leave that. I'm still just so disappointed with what's happening. Very critical of cricket, and I thought it was no sheer coincidence that both McSweeney and Kellaway, both of them rushed back from India, both didn't make runs this game. And, just some decisions cricket-wise where they're just not thinking of the overall picture for mine.
Yep. Are you talking world cricket or are you talking for Australians?
Australians' perspective. It's world cricket, but just think it's perspective too. Like a 2020 series in New Zealand.
Mm-hmm.
Now that's for the Chapel Hadley Trophy, which doesn't happen all the time anyway.
Yep.
And they were at the same ground as well anyway. It was just so underwhelming.
You're playing at this time of the year when are you going to get rain anyway? The Aussie One Day squad's obviously been named, and also the squad for the T20 has been named for their upcoming series against India as well. So Australia have got a lot of cricket on their horizon at the moment, and we'll start to transition into that cricket mode probably from next week or the week after onwards, mate.
Jake Weatherald at least. So 69 in the first innings, 50-odd in the second. I would have loved to have got a couple of hundreds.
Yes.
But after the 100 against Sri Lanka, I'm really hoping he's in the running.
Is Labuschagne doing all right at the moment?
Yeah,
he did score, 119 or somewhere around there?
It's a good start for him. They play South Australia next.
Yep.
So I hope he makes a pair. Look, I think he'll be batting three. I think he'll be batting three.
Yep. Do you like Smith at 3? I know you're saying you probably think Labuschagne's at 3, but do you like Smith at 3 better?
I do, but I think it'll be Labuschagne 3, Smith 4.
All right, mate, we better wind things up there. Once again, thank you for your time. We've got to do better as per usual. We're a little bit under time tonight, but that's all right because we did speak probably for an extra 10 or 15 minutes with KT, which is coming up on Friday. Please like, rate, subscribe, share with your friends, family. Get on board and help us out with those numbers, which obviously then helps when it comes to us attaining sponsorship as well. So thank you to everyone that is listening, and we'll see you next week. Thanks, mate.
In this crazy world we live in, we all need the distraction. Enjoying the show? Like, rate, and subscribe. Hook up and connect with us on social media at SportscastSA. We'll see you next time on Game On.